Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. And today I've got two annoying souls. Annoying.
Yeah.
Girl, please. Don't. You're not the main character.
So who is the main character?
Who else? Are you not on my this thing?
Well, I think you should talk up and close that window there.
You told me
I'll
close that window.
Same person.
I'm already in my centerpiece.
Nonsense.
Oh Jesus! I say close the window, not curtain.
Oh.
Tomorrow now you look like somebody that has sense. Alright, hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Hadiza and this is Africa Living with Hadiza. And today I have with me two annoying people, my sisters.
Yeah.
And we're going to be having an interesting conversation today, just talking about something that's such a big deal in Nigeria, such a big ass deal in not just Nigeria. I think the whole world kind of has an obsession with marriage, you know, an obsession with having a significant other, an obsession with being coupled up and all that kind of stuff. But today we're taking particular focus on Nigeria and we're asking the big question: do you think Nigerians are obsessed with marriage? And of course, I mean, let me put out a disclaimer because I know there are so many people that are waiting to, you know, be aggrieved for no good reason. So this is not, you know, in any way talking down on the institution of marriage. Everybody here absolutely loves and respects the institution of marriage, and I think marriage is a beautiful thing, you know, but I also think that anything that is overdone is like too much of anything is a bad thing in its sense, even if it is the best thing, you know. So in having this conversation, we're not trying to, you know, look down on anything, but just to look at the deeper reasons behind why some of these things might be. So who wants to take the stage?
Take the stage. Are you telling me to take stage?
Oh,
okay, well, there's so many
introduce
things.
yourself there. Nobody knows you.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Zainab. I am Tutu's older sister, although she behaves like she's my older sister, but I mean, I am her older sister. Yes. So she's actually a big baby, but anyways, that's for another day. So I'll be talking about like she said, the main reason why we think there's an obsession about marriage, you know. There are so many factors that have led to people making the decision to be coupled up, to be married, to be, you know, linked to someone else. And I think it boils down to one, societal conditioning, where you are conditioned right from when you are a child, that one of the major desires or one of the major functions of your life's purpose is to be married. So they don't even teach you to aspire for greatness. They don't teach you to aspire to develop yourself, to become an influence or a force in your generation. They teach you systematically how to be coupled up with someone. So I think the codependency syndrome starts from there. They start to make you feel like you are incomplete until you have someone to be your partner. And when that partner comes, every other thing falls into place. The completion just happens. You just become whole. so they don't raise you to be a strong person. So most times our personalities are very fragmented. You find people who are broken, who are meeting other broken people. I mean, you think you're going to become this perfect whole, and you see that, I mean, it keeps getting more fragmented. It keeps breaking into tinier little pieces. So I would say societal conditioning, I would say codependency syndromes make people desperate to want to settle for romantic love, or to have a partner to share romance. And for the record, romantic love is not, it's just one of the many aspects that love encompasses. So you can actually feel the fullness of love from your family. There's filial, I think they call it filial, I'm not sure, I can't remember anymore, but that has to do with your family. There's agape, which is unconditional. There are so many ways to experience the wholeness that we seek for in our partners, and it has caused a lot of dysfunction. You see people settling for who they are not supposed to settle for, people settling for the wrong partners because they feel, I mean, let me just, after all, we're married. I've heard that statement over and over. Some people be like, after all, what do you mean after all? There's so much that goes into there's so much that goes into wanting a partner, and I feel we should start actually teaching our kids to be whole, to be healed. We should start teaching our kids or start teaching our communities, it might not just be kids, people who we influence, to start to heal themselves, to start to seek for help way before they get into a partnership or a relationship or a marriage, so that you have less problems to deal with. Let's just put it that way, because there's so much that goes into you being married. So imagine you are married with a lot of backlog of issues that you haven't healed from, and then you're carrying a fresh addition. So that's my submission for now. I feel society has also not been so helpful in teaching individuals how to be individuals, how to seek for growth individually before finding growth in someone else. So that's it.
So what do you have to say about codependency particularly?
So just adding to what she said, I think one other very important aspect of these things is acceptance. Teaching people how to accept and love themselves is so important. To know that you have to be, just like she said, whole in yourself. Before, you cannot give of what you don't have. So you are this broken person, or you are this person that feels like you cannot exist in life without having friends or having a boyfriend or having, just like she said, everything in society is showing us. They are doing an advert for toothpaste, there's a man standing there. They are doing a roll-on advert, there's a man standing there. There has to be
I might have to shift this.
Okay, so like I was saying, codependency, I think I've suffered from codependency over the years. And it started from, of course, growing up as a middle child. There was always someone in the house, or there was always someone around. I never really lived alone, so I never understood how to set boundaries, or how to just exist on my own, how to just be on my own. Like I was saying, it was very difficult for me, leaning heavily on someone all the time. There was always an auntie at home, an uncle. So growing up, I felt like I needed to be around people. I used to feel like, I'm not having a good day if people were not around. You can imagine always having a full house growing up. And then going to I went to a boarding school still. I was around people. There was always a bunk mate, a side mate. Even if you didn't have friends, you just
have
people always around you.
Yeah.
Then I go to university and I'm staying in the hostel as well. So there was never a time within that time
So
where.
do you feel like that's what led to you becoming like codependent?
Yeah, of course. Like I used to feel it was odd. If I was alone, I felt odd.
Okay.
Like I felt like no, people have to be around. Like
you.
people have to be here. So I
Why am
always
I alone?
moved to where the people were. You know.
Yeah.
And but you know, growing up and becoming more mature, I realized that it's. I mean, we can be independent of people around us. We can just exist by ourselves. You know, we can do so many things because it leads to so many challenges. Being codependent, the people you are leaning on might be getting exhausted. It's a whole. Being a whole human being leaning on another whole human being, or it's just like a baby backing a baby. It's kind of like carrying a baby, and you just keep carrying this baby for all these years.
Yeah, and the baby starts growing,
and the baby is growing
bigger.
and getting heavier and bigger and bigger,
carrying.
and you keep carrying. So that's how I feel like the people that I might have been leaning on must have been feeling like, oh God, can you just make this decision by yourself? You know, I feel like if there was a break ever in that transmission, if I had to work in a place where I had to take the decisions myself, if I had to be alone, maybe in another state just by myself, I would have learned to make decisions on my own. I would have learned to.
Yeah.
But you know, growing up,
So
I
they
found
teach
myself.
you
They teach you
how to lean on other people.
Yes, society, life.
Yeah.
You know, or I don't know if it's the African society, because there's something I see with the Western world. Most of their kids, you know, they start teaching them independence from a very early age. They sleep in their own beds. They sleep in their own room.
But that still does not stop them from becoming codependent human beings in relationships.
Of course, but it's much easier. I mean, you need to understand what I'm talking about. The African, I don't know if it's just Africa
The
or
communal way we
live. So sometimes some people would have felt like,
let's just get somebody else
to do it. Let somebody else be here.
Yeah.
Somebody else has to be in this relationship, or I have to be in a relationship, you know, before I can say, oh, I'm a complete human being, you know. So yeah, that's affected a lot of things. So I feel like we should start teaching our children to love themselves enough to stay. Some people could not stand themselves. You know, it took me years to realize that people will ask me, do you look at yourself in the mirror? And people say, do you know how beautiful you are? And I'll be like, I don't know, because I didn't used to spend time. I couldn't even do it. After maybe doing the makeup or whatever, I'm gone. There are people that spend time and say, oh, you are beautiful. You will go places. And I used to cringe before if I was going to do anything like that. But now I realize that even the Bible says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. When we begin to love ourselves, you realize that I can stay by myself. I can read a book. There are so many things as an individual, independently, we can do without having to be in the face of people or always with people in a group. We can be individuals, complete by ourselves before we start. I mean, it's even more healthy. You are whole. You have seen yourself. You've known what you like. You know who you are. So when you go out there, nobody can tell you who you are not. But most times, when you are in a group, this person says it's like wherever belle face. If these people are going this way, oh, everybody is okay. So even if I don't like it that much, I go this way because these people, group of people I'm with, are going this way. But as an individual, there's some things I like for myself. And so self-discovery is very important in independence, you know, because I don't think codependency is such a great thing. I mean, it happens when you are a baby and when you are a senior citizen, senior adults. Like when the time comes and you can't help yourself anymore, you need that community. When you are a little baby and you can't make decisions for yourself, you need that. But once we begin to know our environment, and I think that independence is very, very, very important. We should start teaching our community how to be independent, you know, so that the herd mentality is reduced. Because herd mentality creates a lot of challenges in our world today. If you look around, honestly.
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, thank you for those very important points. I think I'll just add a little bit to that, in the sense of, I feel, you know, what you said about independence being important. I think our society also has kind of played a role in not helping people focus on that, like, importance of knowing oneself. Because it's when you know yourself as a human being that you can make quality decisions for yourself, because you know yourself like you know a friend. You know, the way I want to know my friend, I want to be able to predict how she thinks, what she likes in a certain situation. It's the same way, you know, it's important that we should know ourselves and develop a relationship with ourselves, because I personally feel like that relationship you have with yourself is the most important relationship you would have in your life, because you are with yourself. You are the one person. You are the one person you are guaranteed that you will be with forever. You know, people can come and go, relationships can come and end, but yourself is yourself forever. So that union of you and yourself is the first union you will ever experience in your life. But because of how, you know, focused we are on an outside union rather than an inside one, we just feel it's not that important. Like what you said, you couldn't even look at yourself and, you know, tell yourself, oh, I love you, you are the best, come on girl, today is your day. You know, there are lots of people that can't say those kind of things.
Wait for somebody else to say,
you know, and
you're waiting
the truth of the matter is, when other people say that to you, if you're not already saying it to yourself, it might not resonate with that deeply with you. And that's why, that's how codependency could also start, because you're waiting for someone to validate you. Yes, to now validate that, oh, I want to feel like I'm good enough. But somebody has to tell me first before I feel it, because somewhere in your own mind, you know, you don't really feel that way about yourself. All right, so I want to ask a question, like, you know, a lot of times we hear in marriages, like, endure, you know, a lot happens. I mean, living with people is not easy. That's the truth. Let's put that out there. Whether you're living with your friends, your family, anybody, living with people is very, very difficult. It can be very difficult because you don't know. I mean, when you're growing up with your siblings, it's hard already. You know, but then you guys are growing
but someone
with
said
each other.
all of us are a lot to live with. That's the truth. So that's every. Excuse me. Everybody is a lot. Like, everybody has their own
problems. Yes, except me, and I stand on business.
Oh God, this is one of the reasons why she's difficult to live with.
Yes, very difficult.
But anyway, so living with people like your siblings, I feel siblings is even better because you have the opportunity to know yourselves over the years, that's maybe like 20 years that you might live in the same environment together. But in that 20 years now, you've become the way you are. Whether you're annoying, whether you are stubborn, whether you are your siblings, you know, and your parents kind of just get to accept you as you are, you know. But when you now come into a partnership, you're coming with somebody that has maybe 20 plus years or 30 plus years of building their own character in whatever way that the people around them have already accepted, you know, and then two of you have to now live with yourselves for, you know, an extended period of time with your different characters. Now, that is not too much of a problem if you are two like grown adults that, you know, have a sense of maturity and a sense of like order and balance, you know, trying to manage yourselves, yin and yang basically. But where there are maybe very huge like character differences, ideological differences and all those kind of things, most times, right, how society tends to handle that or navigate that is by saying manage, endure. And it's mostly the women, you know, that are told to endure and manage, you know, another person's necessities. you know. So I just want to I want to hear from you guys why you think that's the case, and why is it more in the side of the women to have to like handle these things as opposed to the men, or as opposed to just saying both of you should actually try and work on yourself to make it easier for the next person. So I'll start with you on that one.
Yeah, something comes off, the top of my head, and I imagine a scenario where someone cheats, the man cheats in the marriage, and then all the family members come together, and maybe it comes out, and everybody comes together, and they're telling her, "Oh, be patient, time.
Don't worry.
He
made a mistake.
And I'm like, okay, if the tables were turned, and it was that woman, because I see conversation. Yeah, I see. I see
Cheating in Nigeria,
another case it's not even cheating.
Men.
As little as her. I mean, we just watched it. We just witnessed it in a this Big Brother
controlled environment.
In a controlled environment, a woman is trying to interact with other people,
and she's
being policed by somebody that came in with her and said we are besties or we are friends, and he's choking at every turn. Yeah. But this was an arrangement, so I'm wondering why. I too wonder why it has to be just the woman that has to handle it, to be patient, manage this thing. See, in the next 10 years,
you'll be tired of moving around and come back to you.
And they will say people will come home to you.
And STDs and infections.
Jesus. So, I mean,
we are talking about it. So let's talk
and there are other things too, Oh, the family is being overbearing, or something is happening,
and you have to manage
You have to manage it. People are being rude to you. Manage it. Yeah. You are the last born in the family. You are the one that just came in. So you put your head down. In marriage, she stoops to conquer. So honestly, I also am on this side of the table where I wonder why nowadays you see situations turning around, or you see women saying, okay, what is good for the goose is good for the gander. What you can do, I can do too. And then the man is saying, get out.
Is not allowed to
get out of my home. Or she's not allowed to talk to another man. She's not allowed to interact with her colleagues. She's not allowed to have relationships
outside her
marriage.
It's weird.
And it's weird. It's very, very weird. Because if we grow up in a wholesome and healthy society where a man is secure in himself, those things are not issues. I grew up in a home where my dad had his female friends and my mom had her male friends, and everybody, it wasn't like the male friends were looking for ulterior motives. These were family friends. They had dinners, they traveled together. I don't know, but nowadays it's like, there's always an ulterior motive. I
think it has always been there. Like she said, the thought pattern is that women are more malleable. They are more easier to control. They are easier to mold and form. That's the reason why we are told to endure. That's why we are told to keep quiet. That's why we are told to be silent in the face of abuse, because they feel women are softer, women have a nurturing spirit.
And more forgiving.
Yes, they are more forgiving. So that's why, society quickly starts, even in arguments. Have you seen an argument between a woman and a man where they are telling the woman that you are a woman?
You are a woman.
Quiet. Or why are you shouting? You are a woman. All those things. Every emotion a man feels is the same emotion that a woman feels. There is no difference. There is no extra somewhere. Like, a man can actually be 100 degrees angry, but a woman has to be 30%. She doesn't have to
as a good wife. As a good woman.
The mirror. You see. So I feel they actually just think that women should be malleable. That's why you see girls who could have been engineers, who could have been civil engineers, who could have been pilots, who could have been astronauts, are conditioned to become what they did not even want to become. They tell you why you dismantling electrical, why you trying to fix
that's
things.
a man's job.
That's a man's job, you know. It's just it's subtle, but you know, it is just an unconscious thing. Like, it's an unconscious subtle conditioning in the house. You are told, okay, can you remember that book we had when we were small in primary school, where they say daddy's role in the house?
Eze goes to school, right? Was
Something, I think Eze goes to school. They say daddy's role is to what? Go to work
and bring
food. Mommy's role is to
be
cook
in the
and
kitchen
wash.
and cook and wash.
So you see the pictures of mommy cooking, washing, you know, bathing the kids.
Daddy's reading in
Then daddy is reading the newspaper like this,
Yeah.
his legs crossed. So it is subtle, but it has, you know, I feel it has chipped so much at the essence of who a woman is supposed to be as an individual. So that's why it's easy for them to just say, be patient. When he's, you know, they'll tell you when a man is cheating, just endure for the period of 20 years. When he's old, he'll come back. Then you discover that you lose yourself in that 20 years. You become someone else. You become something you cannot even describe, because you have lost your essence as an individual. People who knew you before cannot relate to what you are now because of that gap, those gap years that the man has given you. So you don't even get the chance to have a relationship with him.
Yeah.
That's why you see a lot.
And I also think that, sorry for interrupting you, that this is also an African thing, and it still goes back to my question of why you guys are not answering the question of why. I think it's majorly an African thing, because when we look at the Western world, right, not saying that they don't have relationship issues and all those things, which we all know that they do, but I feel they have, I feel like they have a standard, right, that applies to both men and women. If you're getting into a relationship, you have to think about what your partner wants, what is good for you, what is good for your partner. You have to be respectful of the person's emotions. Whatever you're doing, you have to be mindful that there is somebody that will be affected by your decision. So because of that, I feel it has helped them to build a better balance when it comes to navigating their relationship. But in Africa, it's more looked at as the man can do whatever he wants to do, while the woman will just be there to, you know, just obey and serve. You know, and while I can understand, you know, like what you mentioned about this Eze goes to school and blah blah blah. I can understand their own point of view, because back then maybe the way things were different. You know, women were more the ones at home, you know, in charge of home affairs, while men went out, made money and whatever.
But do you know, we will never even know if those women wanted other things. But they were so used to.
Yes, because I think then, of course, you know, the truth of the matter is, when society was growing or when society was developing, right, it was developing under certain laws, tradition and religious, both tradition and religious laws. When you look at the Western society now that seems to have balance now, even then too, back in the 1800s and all of that, they had that. Africa is
they had the religion.
The way Africa is now is what they were in the 1800s. The women were there at home, just minding the home affairs. Exactly, the Victorian era, where women, your waist has to be like this. You know, everything just has to be to serve the
men's purpose.
Yes, the purpose of just making the man happy, because religion and tradition had structured it that way, that women are meant to be like this, while men are meant to be like that. So, like you said, we will never know if the women even wanted it or not, but they were just obeying
because that's what they saw.
Society was then. Now, I think Africa is still under that umbrella, because we are also still, you know, operating based on religion and tradition and not too much of dialogue. Maybe now people are trying to ask questions, but I feel like people are also coming from a place of anger, you know, because it's like you feel you've been oppressed for so long.
So
now you want to, you know, release yourself and do whatever it is you want to do. But that also doesn't help, because like what they say, two wrongs don't make it right. You know, when you're angry, the next person is angry, you can't really, you know, move forward or express from there. As you should. You know, so I think I asked my question and I answered your question. I really feel that Africa is still struggling because we're just getting to the place where we're trying to talk now. You know, we're trying to talk, and maybe we should sit more on the table together with the point of view of, okay, I'm trying to understand you, you are also trying to understand me, rather than I am angry with you and I must get my own lick back. You know, because I feel a lot of women to navigate it from I want to get my lick back. Life has done this, men have done that, so me, I must do my own. You know, so another thing I want to ask about is, how do you feel? I mean, both of you are married or have been married and have children and have gone through that route. Now, did you feel like you were missing out on something? Please, let's be 150% honest, because I know you all to your homes. Let's be honest. Did you feel like you were missing out on something? Because I will insert a clip here. We'll insert a clip here where somebody said, you know, the clip that we're watching a couple of days, when somebody was like, if you have survived this, singles, you'll be all right, you know. And there is this thing of FOMO that is pushed out a lot on single people, like you're missing out on something, your life is not complete. You see it all over. Singles have not been able to bridge since the year 2024. Singles have not taken one in peace. It has been from one hashtag the other to another hashtag. So in all honesty, did you feel you were missing out on something when you were single, and now that you are married? While you were single, because I mean, all those God when it applies to people. Did you feel like you were missing out on something? Let's start from there first before I ask my second question.
Maybe because I was immersed in a group, I was immersed in a cult.
Let's call it what it is. Talk about that on another day.
I was immersed in an organization, a spiritual organization, and so I felt like that was my world at the time. Everything that happened then made me feel like I was in heaven. So I didn't feel then I abhorred anything that came from the world, and I tried to stick to these things that I felt. I was sticking to the Lord. I was sticking to all this spiritual stuff, and I was so deeply immersed in it that I didn't even learn. The world was moving and evolving and changing. People's mindsets and mentalities were changing, but I was stuck. I was in this world of mine, this little bubble, and I thought that that's how the whole world was, and I carried that same mentality into marriage. So it was when I got married that I started to see the cracks. Just like she said, you're coming from two different backgrounds with someone. You don't know how this person's own 20 years was. You don't know how, even if you date for 10 years, you can still never know someone until you are living under the same roof with the person and breathing the same air.
So and that was when I started to see. You did not feel like you didn't feel bad when you saw couples then. You know the way I was promised. I was promised from heaven. No, I was promised. I was promised to be thrown out, or I was promised that you will get a man of God to marry. Yes. Oh, okay. So that was your consolation.
So you didn't need to worry about God when you already knew that God, you know what's up. You
have a deal.
You've got this.
God, I'm sorry, guys. This makes me. These girls are. I think I'm going to leave it.
God, on the largest pearl, now.
Oh
my guy.
So I was promised, or I felt like I was going to be betrothed to this big pastor somewhere in the diaspora. In my mind, I was going to be a pastor of GO. So I didn't care about. I was happy. I was happy for my Christian brethren who were getting betrothed and put into this system and married off to this wonderful pastor. And this was maybe that was my own God when, or the leaders that we had that were doing my great and mighty things, the spinsters then, movers and shakers, and they were doing stuff, and this was my own God when. So I didn't look to Davido or Chioma and have a sleepless night or something. My look was towards this man and this woman that just got the heavenly marriage,
the heavenly goal,
and they are chasing 10,000.
This will not happen.
So
all this will happen in heaven. And all these won't matter in heaven.
Oh no!
I'm sorry, these guys are useless.
All these won't matter in heaven.
So yeah,
keep your eye on heaven. Heaven is the goal.
It's not.
But guess what? There was a small window. There was a tiny window before I got immersed in the church, and I had the feel of parties, going out. Of course, my dad was a very liberal person. He traveled. He loved to party.
Yeah.
So we had that life. I knew that life, and so I came into this. I came into this religious body, and then those activities were cut off. And even friendships, I severed some friendships because I felt like these are people of the world. But when I got married again, I started to crave. That was when I started to feel hungry for this thing, because I'm like, is this all that there is? Okay, now I'm married, because my situation was so bad because of how I immersed myself. I didn't have a life. I didn't have a life of my own. Everything that my husband did was what we were doing. And so I didn't think to hang out with my own friends. I didn't think to. So when I started to crave it, I mean, every normal human being. Sociology says that a man is a gregarious being. He wants to interact. Man is born for interaction. If not, God would not have made as many of us that He wouldn't have said, go and multiply, which was the first assignment He gave Adam and Eve. He said, go and multiply. So He wants that interaction. God wants us to interact. And so being in marriage where, interaction was also kind of not
restricted.
It wasn't. It was
as
kind
a married
of
woman. You have to, you have to nip it in it, but you have to stiffen it up a bit.
So you can imagine sitting down there and wondering, but we could go out, we could have friends, we could do something different from this regular routine of having kids and grinding the same way every day. So that was when I began to notice these people getting married, and I'm like, well, something looks different, because I don't know, it was just a whole stagnant stream, and then now you see things flowing. I started to look into the world. Let me put it that way. I started to watch TV, I started to see shows, I started to see other people's marriages, and I'm like, this not the church style of marriage, or not the one I was used to. I started to see people having fun, two actors acting together, and it was looking more exciting than so that I started to want that. So I had that God when at some point, but it wasn't in the time when I was single. When I was single, I mean, my world was a bubble of all that the Holy Ghost.
All right, so back to you, Mom.
Well, to be honest, to be very, very honest, everybody knows that I thought I was missing something. As in, at some point, my brother used to make jest of me, because there was a day I cried. I used to go to dating sites to. Was it dating sites that time? On Facebook, all these meet your significant other. And I think one time, when I was logged in, I don't know whether my brother came and disconnected the plug or something from the computer. And they now took light. I was so frustrated. I was like, you have been trying to chat with somebody, and you just came and put off this thing. I started crying until today. My brother still uses that too. He said, hey, she was crying, shouting. Is it because I'm not married? Is it because I'm not married? Don't worry, I'm still going to go to my husband's house. I mean, yes, I actually thought I was missing something. And I'm going to even take it way back to when I was a teenager. I have lots of horror stories. You know, when I was a teenager in secondary school, particularly the early years of secondary school, GS1 to GS3, it was a whole bubble of delulu. I was writing from one love letter to the other
to all
to
the boys.
all the boys who are
To all the
rejecting
boys.
me.
You are living like
up
version
and
of
down.
to all the
Left,
boys.
I was
right,
writing.
right.
I knew the lyrics of all the R&B songs so that I could pen down my
Yeah,
words.
she taught me that because I actually had a spark with
You
that,
know,
so I did that too.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm even still trying to figure out what led to me wanting acceptance so badly.
So bad.
Yeah.
That led to that, you know.
Was there no love at home?
Exactly, I wasn't loved at home. Maybe
Jesus.
because you know
Oh my
sometimes I
God.
see that and I'm like,
How?
Why? Why? I mean, I crushed on boys so badly. Some of them
They used to
ran
drive you
away from me, like ran away. And you know, I had the resentment for them. I couldn't even see that I had a problem. I had the resentment for them, like, why can't you just like me back?
you back.
Why can't you like me back? So really, it's turned me into adulthood. You know, at the stage of adulthood, I mean, I became someone who had people, you know, walking up to me. Like, I had guys, you know, on my neck and all. But still, you know, the way you have lived a certain way in your mind, you feel you have to chase after what you really like. So I think that was, for me, that was a major problem. Thinking that, you know, if I could just chase this husband, in quote, I used to join my names to flames. I was not going to call the people just in case they watch this. But you can imagine me writing Mrs. this and Mrs. that and Mrs. You know, I'll write Mrs. Zainab and then I'll put his surname, you know, I'll be like, oh, this has such a nice ring to it. Or I'll call myself Mrs. You know, I'll give myself a nickname. It was bad. When I mean bad, it was horrible. So, you know, I really thought I was missing out on something, and I felt I was incomplete, you know, so I needed somebody to come and validate me, to make me whole, to make me, you know, to pepper my so-called imaginary hairs. Because
Not gonna take it easy.
you know, nobody really cares. You know, it's now that I'm even realizing that nobody really cares.
Yeah.
You know, if you have such a great knowledge about yourself and such a love life. I was listening to Violet Davis one day and she said the biggest love affair, I think Tutu, you said that as well. She said the biggest love affair you'd ever have in this world is with yourself. So if I had started, I mean, I was pretty, there was nothing wrong physically, but everything was wrong in my mind.
Yeah.
You know, everything was wrong in where people could not see. So that's why you see a really pretty girl and you're wondering, why does she have so many issues? Why is she so troubled? Why is she so... You can't imagine what is going on inside her mind. You can't imagine
Disney World.
Cinderella stories. I think yes, that was
also you.
Yes,
the knight in shining armor.
that's coming to come and sing off your feet.
And you know they always said happily ever after.
But
we never saw the happily ever after.
We never saw the after.
We just saw the beginning
of the happily ever after,
which was
to
the
the
wedding,
sunset.
where they rode into the sunset, and that grand wedding. So you're always dreaming of all Cinderella, Snow White, Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
All of them had those.
All of them had those endings. Happily ever after. Yes.
You know, so
you're right.
Those things.
So I thought I'd missed out on something, and you know, those were the things that pushed me to start figuring out what it was that was making me incomplete when I got married. In fact, my journey of self-discovery actually started inside a very troubled marital union. I'm going to be as upfront as possible because you don't know who needs some form of guidance. Some people feel that you can actually begin to thrive in a troubled union until you come to the peak of your fullest self. Now, your partner has the choice to evolve with you, to grow and make the changes, like Tutu said, to work on their differences as well, and see that, okay, this person, let me meet her here.
Halfway.
Let's build together. Let's grow. Let's kill or break our bodies and then pick it up again, literally, you know. But those are two extremes. Either your partner grows with you or you lose that partner. It's almost like a leaf. I mean, when a tree is growing, the leaves, some leaves of the tree will fall off, never to be connected to the tree again. But the tree does not stop growing. So those are the things that you have to decide. So my journey of self-discovery, I started evolving. You know, I was watching this Meet Couples NYC on Instagram, and there was this couple that. So, you know, I was talking about the Meet the NYC couples, and she mentioned evolution, she mentioned growth as the two major keys that have held them together. And I feel the reason why we have friction sometimes in unions is because your partner actually thinks you are not going to grow. They expect you to remain the same way they met you, the same way, you know, that doe-eyed girl that they met 20 years ago. It's not possible. Every human being is designed to grow.
Both ways. He's growing
Yes,
too.
exactly. So
He's evolving, and we are accepting of your evolution.
yes.
So you should be able
No,
to
we might not
accept.
even actually goes, like you said, it goes both ways. We
Both
might not
ways.
even accept too that he should change. We don't even have the mindset. I think that most people don't even have the mindset that people change in marriage. They think, you know,
You
just stay
remain
the same.
The same way I
So
knew you.
there
Yeah.
is a part for, she said there's a part for evolution. She said there's a part for growth. She also said something which struck me. She said you can leave if you have to. So sometimes we feel marriage is a, you know, somebody was saying how she wishes marriage could be that there's a renewal after every 5 years, and then you get to pick another partner. Trust me, nobody will pick. I mean, you get to pick your partner again. Nobody will pick the person that they started it.
Yeah.
They will pick someone else. So, you know, there should be room for growth. There should be room for you to be like, oh, that's my babe. Oh, she's doing so great now. Oh, she has changed, but
Yeah.
I'm good with it. You know, I think it reduces a lot of the friction that we have. So, you know, there's a whole lot that your love affair with yourself can give, instead of you waiting until someone has a deep, great Gatsby love affair with you. You know, you're thinking, oh, he's using the, how did he used to do? You use the lighthouse. The lighthouse was like
Yeah.
the sign for him to keep staring. You can, as in, it's so delusional. Like, you know, so what you said about missing out on something, I really thought I did miss out on something. So that's, yep.
And well, you've kind of already moved into the second half of the question that I was going to ask, because I wanted to say, did you feel like you were missing out on something? And then when you got in, did you feel now that you are complete? Like, oh, this is everything I've always wanted.
Yeah.
And this is the thing now that has finally made my life complete.
Yeah.
But like you already, you know, kind of alluded to that fact that you had to start that journey of finding yourself while you are already there.
Right,
You know, so I feel it's like what we already said kind of in the beginning. Society gives so much, you know, attention to that, finding that person, and you know, when you find that person, everything in your life will be perfect. Everything, you know, all your ducks will suddenly be in a row. But most times we realize that it is when you get in now that you have to start, because nobody told you that it is okay or it is possible for you to start to find yourself even before you get in there. And you know, while I believe that marriage is a beautiful thing, I also believe that it's kind of like a training ground in character.
Character development.
Character development, yes. I was looking for the second half of that word.
Yes.
I feel it will test you in a way, in all ways, rather, in knowing how solid you are as a human being, in your character, in how well rounded you are as a human being. So I think, and I feel like more focus should be given to what happens before you even get there, rather than just sitting around, and just saying, oh God, when is it going to be my turn? In that period, you can be finding out how much of an amazing person you are, how much of a wonderful person you are, what it is that you have to offer, humanity, society, your partner, your family. What is it about you that makes you fantastic? And yes, I know that there is a place for, especially when you see like very good relationships and all those kind of things. Yes, there is that genuine place of feeling like, oh, when is my own going to come? When is it going to be me? And all those kind of things. Because I feel like one of the most core needs in a human being's life is acceptance, and in the Abraham Maslow hierarchy of needs, self-actualization actually comes at number 5, like the pinnacle of the hierarchy. But I think maybe it should be at the bottom. Self-acceptance should be one of the vital needs, along with food, shelter, and clothing. Acceptance should also be there, because most of the toxic traits in human beings have come from a place of feeling like you are not accepted. Terrorists that have been interrogated, they have been able to trace the fact that they involve themselves in terrorism activities because they did not feel accepted by society. They did not feel like their opinion mattered. They didn't feel they were wanted in this world. So that terrorist act is another way of proving I belong here. Even if it is in a negative way, but I am showing you who thought that I don't belong, that I actually belong. You understand? So it's actually crazy and twisted, but it shows how deep the need for acceptance goes for human beings. And this is one of the reasons why I feel like marriage is so important, is because of what the family can generate, what the family unit can grow, what the family unit can produce. Although, because of how twisted our world is, the family unit ends up producing human beings that are just as broken and twisted and whatnot as the people that raise them. But an ideal family is the beginning of everything good in life. I believe it 100%. An ideal family raises ideal human beings that will further raise more ideal beings. But because of how much brokenness has the society in a chokehold, it now looks like the family unit is not even important. People now want to just feel, oh, I can do this on my own, let me just go and have a child and just but the family unit is important for a reason. Men are as needed as women are. And this leads me to my next question, which we will use to end this thing, because we don't want it to be too long, and it's already too long. But this thing of it's still hinging on the earlier question I asked, where we say that women are the ones that should endure, women are the ones that should manage. I feel that has kind of robbed men of the understanding of their own role in a family. It has kind of robbed, or I don't know what do you think of that point of view?
Not really robbed, but I think it has diminished their thought line as to what their roles are supposed to be, because they have elevated the status of the burden, so to speak. The burden of holding a home together is placed on a woman. That's why a man feels I should do less work. That's why he feels
as long as he brings money home, and I provide, that's okay.
He forgets that he has to be able to show his son how to lead as a servant leader, has to show his son how to lead as a gentleman. He has to show his son how to help his world to become an influence. He has to show his son how to become an influence. He forgets he has to show his daughter how to envision what a man looks like in all totality.
Yeah.
So that's why, we see a lot of girls having
Daddy issues.
abandonment issues,
Yeah.
having misguided thoughts about who their partners are supposed to be. So, like you said, the burden has fallen on us. In fact, recently I've been kicking back so strongly on this word nurturing. There was one they were having in conversation, and he said, can I tell if I'm nurturing? I said, I'm not nurturing. I'm not nurturing. The nurturing makeup is in both male and female. So there's a part of a man that can nurture as well.
Absolutely.
But maybe because they feel we are the ones with they look at our physical bodies and think automatically, because she's made up this way, then nurture should be part of her. Sometimes it's not. That's why you have women who have children and have PPD, postpartum depression. They don't understand. They are looking at the baby like, what just happened to me? This person has come to destroy my body.
Yeah.
Do you get? This person has come to steal my beauty away from me. So we should start letting fathers, please, especially, should start to teach their sons to be more involved in the family unit, so that they begin to take up that responsibility from a young age.
Yeah. For me, I even remember those days when bad things happened. You are like your mom. And when good stuff happens, when the child comes first or something, or the child does well, when the child does well, the father
like
claims
that,
that's me. But the truth is, there was really no deliberate pouring. You need to pour. As a man, you need to pour. It's not just the sperm, pouring of the sperm.
Wow.
You need to pour.
Pouring of the sperm.
No, but it's the truth. Because like I remember that advert where the man says, oh, ping, pong, pong, ping. And I know it was kind of like a skit. And the man said, I have nothing to give but sperm. I have 54 children. And they were showing an African advert or something like that. It's not just, that's not the only documentary. That's not the only thing a man has to give and pour. And money too. Your personality, your character,
the essence
the
of your
spirit
being,
of who you are, the essence of who you are. I was talking to you yesterday about Coach Carter.
Yes.
And how it was such an influential movie because he pulled out success. These were children that were troubled. They were troubled from home to do that.
Most of those boys were from single mother
homes.
Yes. So
they needed that man figure to pull the success. He pulled out academic excellence. He pulled out sportsmanship. He pulled so many things out of those boys because, just like she said, they were from single mother homes. So there are many situations like that today in society. Even you might not even be from a single mother home, but mommy is the one that does the training. Mommy is the one that does the nurturing. Mommy is masculine. Mommy is involved because daddy is busy making money and bringing home the money. Daddy doesn't have time to bring out those. It's like I was listening to on Sunday
to mentor.
Yes, someone was talking about gold being thrown into fire. That if the gold starts shouting halfway through, it's too hot, oh, hey, I can't take this, and you take it out, it is not in its full state. Gold passes through fire. So there's every child or every individual has to go through that furnace, and most of the time the men, the grit, that's tenacity, don't give up attitude most of the time. Of course, women, we are women. I'm sorry.
No, they have told us that we should go through the fire.
We are built to go through anything. But the men have to begin to, fathers have to begin to show their sons that you can stand on business and you can stand till the end, till you are fully formed, till you are in your diamond state, till you are in your gold state. You are shining to the highest, and nobody can come and contest and say this is not gold, because you've passed through the fire of life and you've realized that life is not all. So I believe that men need to begin to step up,
because it's good when you come out and say, oh, that's my son because he came first or because he was the best graduating student from Harvard.
Yeah.
But also you should be able to, your daughter's in-law should be able to say,
Daddy did a great job.
Daddy did an amazing job showing you how to be a gentleman. You have been kind, you have been gentle to me, you have taken me through, because it's not just being a father. You are also a husband, you are also a gardener, you are a teacher,
shepherd.
You prune, you a mentor, a friend. There's so many parts. It's
of
not
him.
just
Yes.
a provider.
There's so many parts of him.
So what we've been taught generally in society is a provider. But there's so many hats, there's so many feathers in that hat, and they need to begin to take off every single little one and work on it. I remember growing up with my dad. My dad is not the most shiny example of the best father, but there were things my dad did. There were things growing up that he did that still resonate with me now. And you see, I remember there were things he would do, like he cut a mango, those cherry mangoes, very big, and he would say bite, and then he'll take it away. Or there were some games that he'll play, or he taught us how to swim. He taught us to ride bicycles, travel. He was fun loving.
Travel came from
he was him. A very fun human being, growing up. He is well. Please. Okay. So yeah, I can still remember those little things. And there were times we'll fight and he will ask you one question that will make you think, like, what is the essence of this thing that you're doing? And there were times too he failed. It's not Chicken George. He will leave us to fight. Like he wanted to see the end of this battle, like WWE. And those little, I remember my mom, on the other hand, you couldn't go to bed. This one was a monster when we were growing up.
How so?
This one. So she will lock you in the room and tell you have to love on each other before you come out of here. And it's amazing growing up now to see siblings that cannot stand each other. But that was something my mom was able to peel off.
Yeah.
She removed it completely. So no matter how every single individual of the five of us is, we can bond with each other. No matter everybody's different personalities, we still love on each other. No matter how far or near you go with your character, we love each other. Because my mom will you are a witch. If you can, she will say you are worse than a murderer. You'll trip you into learning to love. It might not have been the best method, but I mean, coming from her own family with her own siblings, she did a great and a fantastic job in doing that for us. Like I said, sometimes daddy would let you battle. He said, yeah. And he wanted to see the blood that was going to come from this battle. So, like I was saying, fathers need to step up to the full course on the table, to the whole buffet. It's not just speaking on one thing and doing it well. You can do everything, every little thing well, when it comes to raising your community, raising your society, because they say it takes a village to raise a child. It's not just one person. Just reaching out to everybody you see that is badly behaved. Somebody does a certain thing and you correct it there and then. And so you are reaching out to your community, you are reaching out to the whole society. For example, being a gentleman doesn't happen nowadays. Now you see men, you see guys, when we were growing up, a guy will stand up for you to sit down. But now you can be heavily pregnant and they are wrestling for that seat. And you say, excuse me, please, can I sit where? Sit where? And they are so aggressive. And you wonder, where is the gentlemanliness? Or those days when a guy will say, hold on, let me open the door for you. Or you're carrying heavy load, plenty. And they're just walking past you.
Yeah.
I'm trying to teach my own sons to be kind. I mean, to be present, mindful enough to understand that you can help this person up the staircase. Doesn't have to be your wife or your girlfriend or your mother. You can help. And that's where we begin to, turn it back. Because that thing is a serious issue. I mean, it's serious. In the office, you see them wrestling. Guys, or they are struggling to get into the door of maybe a car. There were days when they say, oh, you ladies first. Now it's like every man for himself. And so we need to begin to take it back to the soft that bringing out that thing, from everyone.
Yeah.
All right, so thank you guys so much. Unfortunately, we have to end it here for today. Definitely there's going to be a part two, because as a matter of fact, we did not even touch on the topic.
We have
The
not.
topic
We have
was,
scratched it.
is are Nigerians obsessed with marriage? Well, I don't know how we now got to
We
family
got to
life,
family
but
life.
we're going to come back again. And
Yeah.
because I feel there's a lot of things that are peculiar, to the African society, as
Yeah.
we can look around the world and have like an idealistic point of view about love, but that personally, on a deeper level, it may be more difficult for you to relate with, because the way we grew up in Africa is very different and just special in its own way. So I feel like these conversations are important,
Yeah.
because it helps people to maybe start to understand some things about themselves, understand the whys behind a lot of things, and
Yeah.
maybe just maybe we might have a chance in creating a better society for the generations to come. So I want to say thank you to every single one of you who has watched to this point. Please, you know what to do. Like and subscribe this video, and if you want to see a part 2, comment part 2 in the comment section, and I shall see you guys in the next video. Take care of yourself. Bye.
Puppy power.